My story began when I started to date a South African woman whom I did not even know that she was from the Marine Kingdom. This girl, she is the one that even proposed love to me, and I thought that I was really lucky, but I did not know that she was just looking for a partner in her rituals that she does. And if you are someone that loves to be cleansed by traditional healers, you need to listen to my story. Brother Nashi, how are you? Please post my story as hidden identity. And when you post, make sure that you take my ID and you throw it into the dustbin. Rather, the first thing that I want to tell you is that I want to confess that I am the one that has been sacrificing my relatives, those that are still remaining in Zim. I used to have a lot of relatives, but because of these sacrifices that are so demanding, most of my relatives they are dead, and they do not even know that it is I that is here in South Africa that is sacrificing all of them. If they knew, they would never agree to accept any donations that I give to them. Brother Nanshi, the life that I am living, it is really painful. Life in South Africa has become so painful for me, so much that one can never understand unless if you are walking in my shoes. If I tell someone that I am living a very painful life, someone will think that I'm just joking because they'll see me driving a very beautiful car, but they do not know that behind the man who is driving that car, there are a lot of spiritual battles, spiritual warfare that is taking place. If I tell someone that does not know me, my story, like the way that I'm going to tell you today, you'll think that maybe my story, it comes from a movie. You will think that it is a lie, but I am telling you my own personal story. My story, it started a very long time ago. I am a man, by the way, who is aged 45 years old, but I am married to a Ndebele woman who is a Ndebele speaking woman here in South Africa. She was born and raised here in South Africa. I stay in a province that is called Mpumalanga in an area called Hazyview, but I do come from Zim by birth. I am a Zimbabwean, but now on paper, I am a South African citizen through my marriage to a South African woman. That is how I got a citizenship, because I got married to my wife. She is very beautiful, but like all Marine Kingdom girls, they are all beautiful and you can't resist their love. Brother Nashi, in our language, in Shona, they say, Urumbo Uroi, translated, poverty is witchcraft. Let me take you back so that you can understand my story. I will narrate how I used to suffer when I was back home in Zim. I grew up in Mashwingom, and we grew up in a village that is called Zakam, where I used to stay with my father and my mother. But growing up, my parents, they were so poor. They were so poor that I took responsibility. It was as if I was the one that was a parent now, because I would go and do some piece jobs. As for my father, he was someone that had already given up on life. He never wanted to do anything, to work, because he thought that it was just useless to work, and you continue to work, yet you are so poor. He had nothing, he had zero. And as for me, I could not complete my education because I was the one that had taken a decision to finish the spirit of poverty that had been afflicting my father for the longest time. So when my other age mates were going to school, I was doing some piece jobs, heading the house of other people in the village, looking after the houses of other people from our village, those that had migrated to the city. That was all that I was doing. There was no time at all for me to take a book, to sit down and read. To read for what? Because reading was not going to put on food on the table first. I wanted something that could give me money as quickly as possible. So my father and my mother, they had 6 kids, and I was the firstborn. As you know, that when you are a black person, since you are the firstborn, all responsibility, it falls on you. When I was 18 years, that was when I saw that life was really difficult. Life became so difficult such that there were times when we could go to bed hungry, just looking at each other. You have no food, you are starving, you just go to bed. And since we were a big family, my mother and my father, they had already given up. They could not take care of the children that they had given birth to. That was when I started to think about leaving the country. Other boys in our village, they had already started leaving the country, going to other places to look for work so that you can just feed the family. I wanted to do such. I wanted to leave Zim to go to another country so that I can be able to assist my parents, because in my mind, I had this idea that if I can send all of my siblings to school, if they go to university, graduate, and get good jobs, then in return, they were going to take good care of me. When I left the country, instead of moving down south, like what most of my age mates were doing from the village, they were moving down south to South Africa. But I went to Mozambique. I went to Mozambique because there was one of my relative, my uncle, who was my father's youngest brother. He had already moved to Mozambique. He was staying in Maputo. So I said, instead of going to South Africa, where I know nobody, it is far much better that I go to a country where there are a few relatives that are there. I spoke with my uncle. Uncle, I'm suffering. What can I do? That was when he told me that I was supposed to come to Mozambique and we could work together and I could make some money. So when I left, because I knew that my mother, she was never going to agree for me to leave Zim. She was going to refuse. She'll be like, what if you do not come back? That was when I left without even informing both of my parents, my siblings, that I had gone out. I was going to Mozambique. On my way, I went to Maputo. When I was in Maputo, indeed, my uncle came and he fetched me from the bus stop, and I started to stay with him at his house. So my uncle, he was an experienced boiler maker. He knew everything that had to do with welding. So he was doing his own self jobs. He was making a lot of money doing welding. Then I started to work with my uncle. I was so happy that my uncle was going to teach me this trade of welding so that I can also make as much money as he was making. But I never knew that a relative will do such a thing to you, even though he knows that you are so desperate. He started to use me in ways that I could not even understand. He could not even give me money. He told me that I was too young. That is why he could not give me money. He was training me. He was not supposed to give me any money. Besides, since I was working and I was his child, the food that I was eating, I was not buying it. I was staying rent free at his house. He said, you need to work until you would have found a job. I worked and I worked until I grew tired. I never had any money. It was just a matter of working, not knowing where life was going to take you next. As for Mozambique, to those that do not know, Mozambique, it is very difficult. Mozambique is very hard to survive, especially if you do not know the systems of Mozambique. You can't just wake up and say that I'm going to look for a job. You can't get a job so quick. You know why? Because the industry there in Mozambique, it is already dead. When I tried to look for a job in Mozambique, I spent 2 years looking for a job, and it was just the same situation. You could not change the place where I was staying. I was being taken care of by my uncle. I could not go anywhere because I did not have any money. For those 2 years, I was not sending even a single cent to Zim because all that I could get from my uncle was food. That was when I started to speak with this other guy who had become my friend. He was a Mozambican national. We would sit down, we would chat about the future. That was when he told me that he was thinking of leaving his country to come to South Africa. And I said, yeah, it is far much better that we leave Mozambique. And then that was when we came to South Africa so that we can look for a job and something to do instead of just suffering. It was not an easy decision because we did not have any money, but still we found ourselves in South Africa. When we came to South Africa, we were undocumented. We did not even have any single paper. So since we did not have any documentation at all, no passport, no ID, nothing, there was no way that we could head straight to Joburg, where we had heard that jobs could be found. So my Mozambican friend, he said, if we are clever, if we do not want to be arrested by the police, let us look for a farm that is deep in the bushes where we can work. At least we can find food, we can get a job, no matter how much we are getting paid. That is all that matters for now. That was when we found a job in the farms. It was deep in the farms. When we found work, we started to work for this other white man. So the work there, it was very hard. You had to lift heavy stuff all day long, and the pay, it was not that much. So they were doing poultry, and this man, he was doing poultry layers as well as those white chickens, the broilers. So this man, what he did, the white farmer, he then built a big structure close to the main road, close to the gate of his farm. And he did this because he wanted to get as many customers as he could, because there was a big road that went to the locations past that farm. So this was like a shop where he could sell some of his stuff, and he would put chickens there. And then I found favor in the eyes of that white farmer. He then told me that he did not want me to work in the farm, but to work at the shop outside of the farm. So my job was to look after the chickens as well as to sell. So I would sell to those that were passing by. Some, they even came with their cars from the locations to buy the chickens in bulk. Eventually, that was where I met my South African wife, the one that I am staying with to this very day. I did not even know that I am dating a Marine Kingdom spirit girl. So for me to fall in love with this woman, what happened was that she came and she would buy 10 to 15 chickens per day. I thought that she had a restaurant. I did not know what she was doing with the chickens, because she will do this on a daily basis. She will come and she would buy the chickens, and she would always pay cash. Because she was my daily customer, we ended up being friends. And as we became friends, we started to date. She told me the truth that was in her heart. She told me that she wanted me. She wanted to get married to a Zimbabwean man, even though she was South African. And I did not even imagine that such a beautiful woman would fall for a man like this. But I said that maybe it was the work of God. God had remembered me, and I saw this woman as someone that could uplift me from the ashes of poverty. We started to date, me and this woman. And during the first days, to tell you the truth, I was scared to fall in love with this woman because of her class. She was too wealthy for me, and I told myself that I am not going to fall in love with her. My mission was that I wanted to date her, and she could assist me to start a business. Then I will run away and return back to Zim, because there was no way that such a beautiful woman could love such a poor boy that was working in the farms. But brother, I fell in love. And then after about 2 years of dating, that was when she told me that she wanted me to leave the work that I was doing in the farm. My life, it changed, because now I was able to take care of my own relatives back home, and I was also driving some of their cars. This girl then told me that she wanted us to get married legally so that I can have papers instead of driving around with no documentation. After I had gotten my passport, then she told me that before we could go to Home Affairs, what was supposed to happen was that we had to do a traditional wedding. A grandmother, that was when I started to hear about him, that she was a Sangoma, also staying here in Mpumalanga. So we were supposed to do a South African traditional wedding. Then after that, we could have the white wedding. So she revealed it to me that the reason as to why she did not want us to be intimate, it was because she was a virgin and she could not sleep with a man before the approval of her grandmother, the Sangoma. Since I was someone that was madly in love and the possibility of eventually becoming a South African, it was just something that was too good to be true, and I wanted that. So then we got married. We came to Hazelview, and this is the place where her grandmother is staying. We then arrived at her grandmother's house, and then we sat down, and she told me that her granddaughter, she had been looking for a man for a very long time, and I was lucky that she has chosen me. But she said that I want to have a covenant with my shrine and my daughter so that you are not going to leave here. So me and my wife, we got married in the middle of the night. It was 12 midnight. That is when we got married. She took a ring and she put it on my finger, and I did not put anything on her finger. When it was close to midnight, that was when I was woken up, and then they took me to this other room. And when I got into the room, I saw that they had already made the preparations for the ceremony. Then they made me to stand on top of a red cloth that they had put on the floor, and they gave me a white suit to wear, as well as my wife. She was also wearing a white gown, but I am the only one that was made to put a ring on his finger, and I was told to never remove that finger, that ring that is on my finger, no matter what. To this very day, if I remove it, then I'm going to die. That is how I got married to a South African woman. Fast forward, after that, we then went to court, Home Affairs, to finalize everything, and eventually I got my citizenship. So after we had gotten married, that was when I started to face reality that I did not get married to a normal woman. I got married to a demonic woman. First day, when we started to make love, when we were about to make love on our honeymoon, during romance, I had removed my clothes. She was also naked. I was on top of her. That was when I started to feel like there was someone, a third woman, that was giving me a blowjob, who was playing with my manhood. I got so scared. So when I got scared, when I looked at my manhood, I saw that in between her legs, there was a snake that was white in color. It happened so quick, then it disappeared. I cried and I screamed, but then she explained everything to me. We then made love after I had understood what I had gotten married to. After making love, she then took me, when we returned back to South Africa, to this other house where there is another room. In that room, there are three snakes. These snakes, they even sleep on the bed. They are white snakes like I have never seen. She told me that these snakes, they survive by drinking blood, and that is why she used to come to the farm and she would buy those chickens. And she told me that I am supposed to do it since I am her husband. That is what I do. I am the one that goes out and buy the chickens to feed to these snakes. So my wife then told me that she and her grandmother, they deal with the marine spirits. If there is a South African woman that is facing a lot of problems in a marriage, if that woman wants to have men that love her, they go with her to the river and cleanse her so that men will start to fight after her. Some of them, they are even initiated into the marine kingdom without them even realizing that this is what is happening. That is why you see these women that practice this religion of worshipping marine spirits. they can't get married, because if they are dealing with traditional healers that are like my wife and a grandmother, they end up being initiated and they become wives to the snake, as well as they are given the power to steal the good luck from the men that they will be dating, as well as them becoming sangomas as well. So that is how these two women are initiating other women that practice this type of rituals here in Mpumalanga. I did not know this. I only accepted because I wanted money. I wanted to be documented in South Africa. It was in the year 2019. Me and my wife, we had been staying together for 10 years by then. So me and my wife, we do not have a child. She told me that we can't have a child as for now. She will tell me when it is time for us to have a baby together. So since we had spent 10 years, she said, I have been giving you money for the past 10 years. So now it is time that we go to the river and sacrifice. I then asked her what kind of a sacrifice, and she said, we need the blood of a human being. And this human being, the snake is the one that is going to choose, but it has to be the blood of any of your relative from your mother's side. I did not have any option but to risk. Then I sacrificed my mother, and after I had sacrificed my mother, that was when I was told that I should not go to Zim. So, brother, there are those that are going to judge me. But let me ask those that are going to judge me. Since I did not have any solution, even if it was you, Brother Nashi, if you were in my shoes, I bet you were going to take that same decision that I took. I sacrificed my mother, and I thought that this was going to be the final sacrifice. But brother, ever since that year to this very day, I have been sacrificing. I had six in our family. We were six, right? But now I only have three siblings. It pains me a lot that I have been sacrificing my mother's kids, and as I can see it, I am the one that is at a disadvantage, because my wife, she does not sacrifice anyone from her family. I am the one that is sacrificing from her own family, because I just wanted to be a South African. I have come here, brother. I want to give a warning, especially to those young women, those that want to date men that have money. You might have heard it that the marine spirits, the mermaids, they will assist you, they will help you for you to have men chasing after you. I tell you, it is the truth. But I beg you, I am living with a woman who practices marine spirits. She is representing the marine spirits, initiating other women. You do not like it. It is far much better to stay with your broke boyfriend than to chase after rich men when you are being assisted by these marine spirits. You'll end up doing witchcraft. This I tell you. Brother Nashi, this is my own secret. What pains me is that whenever there is a funeral in Zim, all that I do is that I donate a lot of money for that funeral. My relatives, the way that they are buried, they are always buried in style, but they do not know that I am the one that is sacrificing everyone. Brother Nash, this is the secret of my life. When you see me driving, you might see me smiling, but behind the smile, there is a dark secret that I am carrying. I am here in South Africa. I am tired. I do not want to live under these circumstances anymore, but I can't let it go and start praying, because the marine spirits, they are very, very powerful. If you try today and live, as she told me that if you try to live, you are going to die. I'm scared that if it happens that I choose to walk away, she might kill me, because the girls from the marine kingdom, they have a lot of power. When you post, you will tell me. I'll be following through in the comment section. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to us by one of our dear brother. That was the translation, hoping that you were able to understand. Have you ever been cleansed in the river? If you have ever been cleansed, did the Sangoma tell you why he or she was cleansing you in the river? After that, did your life change? Do you think that you were initiated into the marine kingdom? If so, reach out to us at Brother Nashi. Let us meet again in the following episode.